At the moment before swiping the card to pay the down payment, I withdrew my hand from entering the password. Sorry, I'm not buying it anymore. As I took back my bank card and was about to leave, my fiancé, who had just moments ago been swearing to treat me well for a lifetime, changed his expression. Zoe, didn't we agree that after paying the down payment today, we'd go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow to get our marriage certificate? Why the sudden change of heart? The bony hand of my future mother-in-law, like a chicken's claw, gripped mine tightly, not letting me leave, her voice so shrill it was almost cracking. What are you making a scene for? It's all been agreed upon. We've even signed the papers. You say you're leaving just like that. Do you still want to marry my son or not? The saleswoman at the property sales office, holding a POS machine, hurried over to block my way, preventing me from leaving. Miss, the 3-bedroom, 2-living-room layout that you and your family have your eye on is in high demand. If you don't pay the down payment soon, we'll have to sell it to someone else. As soon as Luca Jew heard that the deal was about to fall through, he stiffened and, with an authoritative tone befitting the head of the household, commanded, Zoe Cheen, be reasonable. If you keep making a fuss, it'll go too far. This is our marital home. You can't just decide not to buy it on a whim. Besides, today is the final payment deadline as stipulated in the contract. If you choose to back out now, it'll be considered a breach of contract, and you won't get back the 100,000 yuan deposit. Since the house was booked without my knowledge, the 100,000 yuan deposit was naturally paid by Luca Jew's family. Upon hearing that the 100,000 yuan might vanish into thin air, the old lady instantly flew into a rage. She tightened her grip, pinching the spot between my eyebrows so hard it wrinkled, while her free hand snatched at my handbag. Hurry up and give me the bag. Be quick about it. Once you're married into the family, I might treat you better. My office worker strength was no match for the robust old lady, who, despite her age, still tended vegetable plots in her rural hometown. In no time, the delicate calfskin handbag with its thin straps was yanked away by the old lady. The slender shoulder strap, unable to bear the strain, snapped, leaving red scratches on my fair shoulders and arms. I told you to give it to me, but you didn't. Serves you right if it breaks. I frowned and stared intently at the old lady's hand, watching helplessly as she took out my bank card and then very naturally handed it back to the sales office lady. Swiped. Hurry up, we're in a rush. The lady gave me an awkward smile, swiped the card skillfully, and handed the POS machine to me. Miss, please enter your password. I took the POS machine, removed the bank card, and snapped it in half. I said I'm not buying it. Can't you understand human language? But your husband and mother-in-law, we're not married yet. I don't have a husband, and I don't have a mother-in-law. Before the old lady could start cursing, I snatched back the broken bag, took out my phone and documents, and flung the empty bag right into Luca Jew's face, which was full of dissatisfaction and accusation. The bag you gave me, I'm returning it to you. Amid the old lady's fierce cursing and Luca Jew's discussion with the sales office lady about delaying the down payment, I walked out of the place in my 7-centimeter stilettos. 2. Rebirth. I drove the small car my family bought me after I started working and made my way back home. Enter the familiar password, and as soon as you step through the gate, you see your parents in the living room. Mom, Dad. Seeing the familiar faces from memory vividly appear before your eyes, tears gradually blur your vision. Oh, what's wrong, sweetie? Why are you crying? Is it that boyfriend of yours who's been bullying you? Tell me, and I'll go teach him a lesson. Just as I was about to enter my bank card password, my mind went blank, and a memory that shouldn't have surfaced suddenly appeared. In that memory, I was deceived by Luca Jew's sweet words. Sacrificing my own and my parents' entire fortune to serve the Jew family like a beast of burden for decades, only on my deathbed did I learn from my son that Luca Jew had been scheming against me and my family from the very beginning. He even took this as a badge of honor and told my son and grandson about it, but he never told me. Mom, Dad, Luca Jew proposed to me. He did it with a home purchase contract, after crying enough in my mother's arms. I embarrassedly went to the bathroom to wash my face. In a hoarse voice, I told my parents everything that had happened from yesterday until today. Mom was the first to lose her temper. What a clever plan. Just a mere 100,000 yuan and he wants to take out a loan to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-living-room apartment in the city center. And marry my daughter. What a clever plan. Dad slammed the coffee table hard. If it weren't for the fact that the table was made of solid wood with a single slab of marble on top, it would have probably fallen apart under his force. I told you from the start that this Jew guy wasn't a good match for our family and that it wouldn't end well. You refused to believe me, and now look. You've been tricked, I spoke up timidly. Dad, it was almost. But I didn't actually swipe the card to pay. Mom has endured Luka Jew for a long time, sparing no effort to undermine him. Have you forgotten all the money you spent on him during the relationship? He bought you a fake designer bag worth a few hundred yuan for Valentine's Day, while you foolishly bought him genuine sports shoes worth tens of thousands. For his birthday, he took you to a street stall for a bowl of fried rice costing 5 yuan, while for your birthday, you took him to a Western restaurant costing over 1,000 per person, besides the bag of bananas he brought last time he came to our house. Wasn't everything else taken from our home storage? With each word Mom said, my head drooped lower, as if I were back in first grade, afraid of being scolded for failing the final exam. Mom, I know I was wrong. At that time, I was so focused on getting married that I didn't think about these things. Mom poked my head lightly, carefully avoiding using her nails, her tone full of helplessness. You tilde. 3. Marriage proposal. I had only been home for half an hour and hadn't even finished complaining to my parents when the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and sure enough, it was Luka Jew and his mother. Zoe, why did you leave without a word, leaving me and Mom there, standing on tiptoe to see that no one was behind me? He reached out to grab my arm. Be good, I'll take you to the bank to get a replacement card, and tomorrow we'll go pay the down payment on the house. I sidestepped to avoid Luka Jew's hand, giving old Mrs. Jew the chance to slip in. Auntie, what are you doing? I didn't invite you in. With no one guarding the door, Luka Jew swaggered in. Neither he nor his mother bothered to take off their shoes, showing no sense of being guests. Zoe, we're about to get married. Your home is my home. Show some respect to my mother. With a cold expression, I followed in my slippers and immediately saw my parents confronting Luka Jew and his mother in the living room. Old Mrs. Jew's hoarse voice rang out with a hint of pride. In-laws. Are you home? Perfect timing. We can discuss the matter of the two children getting married. Married? What marriage? We haven't agreed to anything. Zoe can't marry your son. Uncle, aunt, Zoe agreed to my proposal yesterday. We came with my mother today to ask for her hand in marriage. My parents glanced at the empty-handed couple, pulled me aside, and then fixed a sharp gaze on them. Oh, you think you can propose with just empty words? I've never heard of such a thing. Luka Jew immediately took out the home purchase contract from his briefcase and presented it to my parents with an arrogant expression. Uncle and aunt, don't worry, I've already found a good house. Zoe will definitely be happy if she marries me, living a second life. I suddenly realized that Luka Jew's mercenary nature existed from a young age. It wasn't something that developed from the grind of daily life. He dared to bring it up because he was sure I was love-struck and could handle my parents. How ridiculous. I really want to drag my past self out and give myself a good scolding. Taking the contract, I spoke up as my parents' expressions grew increasingly grim. Has the down payment been made? Luka Jew looked at me with disbelief in his eyes, as if I were a heartless woman. Zoe, you know my family's situation. The 100,000 I paid for the deposit has already drained all my savings over the years. This house is for the two of us to live in together in the future. Didn't we agree yesterday that you would cover the remaining 980,000? My mother knows exactly how much money I have. 980,000 would almost wipe out all my savings. She shot me a sharp glare. I told you not to reveal your financial situation to a man before marriage, and you just let it go in one ear and out the other, didn't you? I guiltily averted my eyes, every hair on my body standing on end in fear of being scolded. For negotiation, only the sound of my mother calmly negotiating with Luka Jew could be heard. In that case, since my family has already paid 980,000, we don't mind paying an extra 100,000. Hearing my mother say she could cover the full amount, old Mrs. Jew exclaimed excitedly, "That's great, we were just planning to fix up our old house back home, and we're a bit short on money, so, in-laws. When are we going to arrange the wedding for the kids? How much dowry is your family planning to offer?" Under my astonished gaze, my mother made a downward pressing motion with her palm. Don't get worked up, let me finish first. Our family is providing the house, so it's not a dowry anymore, but a bride price. Consider it as your son marrying into our family. What do you think? I gave my mom a mental thumbs up, thinking, Mom is really something else, as a product of the one-child policy. Even though the Jew family is in the countryside, they only have one son, so naturally, they couldn't agree. Old Mrs. Jew put one hand on her hip and started pointing at my mom's nose, scolding her. I had a feeling something was off with your family from the start. You only have one daughter. And now I see what you were planning all along. You couldn't have a son of your own, so you want to take mine. How heartless is that? You want my son to marry into your family and become your son. Let me tell you, that's never going to happen, not in this lifetime. Luca Jew stood behind his mother, looking deeply hurt. Zoe, do you really think so too? After all these years of our relationship, are you going to erase it all just for a bit of money? It was clearly my mom who was being scolded. I don't understand how Luca Jew has the nerve to ask me that, but I didn't argue with him. The main culprit is standing right there. Why would I bother asking an accomplice for an explanation? That would be foolish, Aunt Jew. My mother is right. Since ancient times, marriage has never been about getting something for nothing. Your harsh words are extremely rude. Please apologize to my mother. Zoe, how could you treat my mother like that? She is the one who worked tirelessly to raise me. You should respect her as if she were your own mother. My mother let out a cold, disdainful snort. Matilda, I'm not dead yet. My daughter has her own biological mother and doesn't need another biological mother who has to be treated like an ancestor. Old Mrs. Jew stomped her feet and retorted, Are you city folks so great? How can you talk like that? Is there anything wrong with what my son said? Once she marries into our family, she becomes one of us. In the future, she'll be taking care of me and Luca Jew's father. What business is it of yours? If you know what's good for you, just hand over the money quickly. Maybe then we'll treat your daughter better in the future. Otherwise, just you wait and see. My father shifted slightly, blocking the spit that Granny Jew had sprayed at my mother. We have a car and a house. Our daughter has no trouble finding a husband. If this is your attitude, then sorry. We don't agree to this marriage. My mother tightened her grip on my hand, gave me a don't speak look, and then stated, That's right, we don't agree. I obediently hid behind my parents, pretending to be a quail. 5. Entanglement. Outnumbered 3-2, Luca Jew and his mother didn't gain the upper hand and were eventually escorted out of the residential area by the property management. I thought that with all the commotion, my romantic relationship with Luca Jew was considered mutually dissolved by default. Unexpectedly, the next morning, as soon as I turned on my computer at my workstation, a colleague told me that someone was looking for me. Zoe, my mom was a bit impulsive yesterday and said some harsh things. Please don't take it to heart. Disgusted, I took a step back, avoiding Luca Jew's outstretched hand, and kept a safe distance before calmly responding, What do you need from me? Luca Jew was dodged, but he only curled his fingers slightly without overreacting. He flashed a smile, the kind he only wore after receiving expensive gifts, and spoke in that deep voice I used to be so infatuated with but now find utterly repulsive. Zoe, have you forgotten that we need to pay the down payment for our future home today? The agent told me that this apartment is in high demand. If we don't pay the down payment by the end of today, the 100,000 yuan deposit will be wasted. And who knows when we'll be able to get married. I pouted and said, If you really want to buy it, then pay for it yourself. Coming to me is useless. I thought we had already broken up. Luca Jew's brow furrowed deeply and noticeably. Every time I've seen this expression on his face in the past, I would take the initiative to apologize, even if it wasn't my fault. All right, don't say such childish things. With all the years of feelings between us, and you just accepted my proposal the day before yesterday, how can you talk about breaking up so easily? Quick, grab your ID, go ask your boss for leave. And let's go pay the down payment, then get our marriage certificate. I remember in our past life, during countless arguments after marriage, Luca Jew used "this is my house" alone to force me to compromise, and the resentment in my heart just wouldn't stop. Get married. Why not buy the house after getting married? If we buy it after marriage, wouldn't it become joint marital property then? You know, I'm a man, and I need to save face. I don't even have any premarital assets. How can I hold my head up in front of others? So he knew that only with assets could one stand tall in their own home after marriage. At that moment, the resentment around me was so thick it almost felt tangible. So you're saying you want to turn my 980,000 in premarital assets into yours? Luca Jew, how much sincerity do you really have for me? Sincerity, naturally, is absent. I am no longer a girl in my early 20s. A lifetime of toil in my previous life has worn away the indecisiveness of my youth. You can leave, I won't be paying this sum. If someone is willing to be a fool, go marry them instead. Don't come looking for me. Luca Jew was eventually escorted out of my company building by security. All my colleagues knew that Luca Jew and I had fallen out. 6. Youth compensation fee. I don't know if Luca Jew ended up buying that house. In my previous life, after getting married, I was coaxed into being a housewife for the rest of my life, and my career was ruined. Unconsciously, a month passed, and a phone call once again disturbed the calm waters of my heart. Hey, are you busy? Let's meet up and talk. Alright. Ju Yang, Luca Jew's sister, shared the same fate as me in our previous lives, both exploited by old lady Jew for a lifetime, but perhaps there was something inherently flawed in the Jew family's genes. As Ju Yang not only failed to stand by me but also chose to kick me when I was down. In her previous life, Ju Yang had been married for less than 10 years when her husband cheated, forcing her to leave with nothing but her child. With nowhere else to go, her in-laws brought her and her son to live with my family. Ju Yang is ungrateful and often flatters my in-laws by tormenting and abusing me. That's how I lost my first child. Looking at Ju Yang's plain face and her slightly fuller figure after giving birth, I frowned slightly. What do you want from me? Make it quick. I need to get back to work. Ju Yang has always been a bully at home. In my past life, she only dared to be harsh and cold toward me in that household. In this life, she clearly hasn't grasped the situation yet. As long as I'm unwilling, even 10 of her wouldn't be able to lay a finger on me. I heard you dumped my brother after he proposed to you. Is that true? So you're here to confront me. I wouldn't say I dumped him. We just had a disagreement and broke up. Why? My brother is so outstanding. He managed to excel even in our small town. He's like a literary star descended from the heavens. How dare you look down on him? Hearing this ridiculous argument again, I couldn't help but laugh. Under Ju Yang's furious glare, I struggled to suppress my laughter. Haha, sorry. I didn't expect you to be such a good joke teller. I couldn't hold it in. You might not know, Luca Jew only managed to stay at our school by accepting a transfer after barely meeting the admission cutoff score. If the god of literature looked like him, even the Jade Emperor would have to pick a new one. Ju Yang was so angry her fingers trembled. Well, you finally spoke the truth. You just look down on my brother. Not getting married is fine, but I must seek justice for my brother. You need to reimburse me for the years of his youth you wasted, as well as cash out all the gifts he gave you. If you won't marry him, plenty of other girls are lining up to marry my brother. Just wait. You'll regret it. I frowned, and a sudden thought crossed my mind. Has Luca Jew not saved enough for the down payment yet? A flicker of guilt passed over Ju Yang's face, but she quickly straightened up and retorted defiantly, "It's already paid for. My brother is a homeowner now. But this house has nothing to do with you, so don't even think about it." I raised an eyebrow. You borrowed money. How much? Do you expect me to help Luca Jew fill the gap? Ju Yang, having been seen through, looked extremely uncomfortable, his previous arrogance completely gone. That's none of your concern. Just give me the money. Give me 900,000, and I'll leave right away. I understood immediately. Oh tilde, so you've gathered 80,000 for your brother and now you want me to put in 900,000. Does your husband know about this? Ju Yang's husband had given the Jew family a 100,000 betrothal gift under the scheming of her parents, and he deeply resented her sending money back to her family. Later, the reason he was able to escape unscathed after his affair was largely thanks to the insatiable greed of her parents. He spent a small amount of money to get leverage over the old couple, forcing them to pressure Ju Yang into leaving the marriage with nothing but her child. You don't talk nonsense. I didn't. The flustered expression said it all. 7. Extortion. I leisurely turned the phone on the table over, calmly pressed stop recording, and then dialed the police. Hey, I'm at XX Cafe on XX Road, and someone here is trying to extort 900,000 from me. Given the huge amount of money involved, the police arrived very quickly. Zhu Yang ran away, but this is the busiest commercial street in the city center. Even a mosquito flying by could be tracked. Zhu Yang was taken in. And the police contacted her family. Her husband came to handle the procedures for her. In my previous life, I had seen their photo together on Zhu Yang's phone screensaver. Back when they were still married, in the police station lobby, I recognized Zhu Yang's husband at a glance. I struck up a conversation with him and briefly mentioned that the Zhu family had bought a house in the city center, and that his wife might have taken the money. The money your wife took out is marital property. If you file a lawsuit now, you might still be able to recover it. With the recording as evidence, the man believed it on the spot by 30%, and the remaining 70% he could confirm by checking the accounts. Once the matter was settled, I walked away without a second thought. For the sake of my own mental and physical well-being, I didn't continue to follow up on Zhu Yang and her husband's situation. When I went to the police station to collect the case closure report, I heard that Zhu Yang's husband hadn't hired a lawyer for her, nor had he paid her bail. Due to the large amount of money involved in the extortion, Zhu Yang was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Hearing this result, I was taken aback for a moment. In my previous life, the Zhu family swindled millions from me, and later, after my parents passed away unexpectedly, I inherited all of my family's assets. Under the coaxing and deception of the Zhu family, it all turned into their money, amounting to at least 20 million. 90,000 landed them 7 years in prison. So how many years should 20 million get them? 8. Usually, I saw Luca Zhu again 2 weeks later. He was unshaven, had a cast on his right leg, and was leaning on crutches as he blocked my way at the entrance of the complex. Zoe, I know I was wrong. I'm willing to marry into your family. Just have your parents give me 2 million right away, and I'll go get our marriage certificate with you immediately. I looked at him with confusion but didn't give him the answer he wanted. Who beat you up like this? I fell. I wasn't beaten by anyone. Oh, fine. Don't tell me then. But I have a new boyfriend now. I don't need you to marry into my family, so don't come looking for me anymore. Zoe, after all these years of feelings between us, how can you bear to just give up? Break up with him quickly. I promise I won't hold it against you. Can we get back together? I ignored him and, looking at the ride I had just called not far away, said to him, my boyfriend is here to pick me up. Goodbye. Of course, there was no boyfriend. I am not made of wood or grass. With decades of unpleasant memories weighing on me, I simply have no heart for love. Perhaps one day in the future, I will come to understand and accept someone else, but for now, I just want to focus on building my career and providing for my parents in their old age. Familiar with Luca Zhu's malicious nature, I was afraid he would cause trouble for me and my parents, so I later had someone investigate him. Apart from the 80,000 yuan his sister secretly took for the down payment, the remaining 1 million yuan was actually borrowed from loan sharks. I still remember that shortly after our marriage in my previous life, Luca Zhu tricked me into asking my parents for 300,000 yuan in renovation expenses. My parents told me, spending 300,000 shouldn't have resulted in the effect your house has. I didn't believe it. I was still too young and not mature enough. With that Syrian-style renovation where even the wires weren't concealed, saying it cost 100,000 is already giving Luca Zhu face. In this lifetime, without me filling the financial holes for the Zhu family, within less than 2 months, 1 million had ballooned to 1.5 million with compound interest. Luca Zhu's leg was broken by loan sharks. 9. Plotting for wealth and harming lives. I had people keep a constant watch on Luca Zhu and his parents, informed his parents about the Zhu family's situation, and had them hire personal bodyguards as well. In my previous life, my parents were killed in a car accident one day, a year after I got married, just before the accident. I had a huge fight with my parents because they refused to give me money to treat old Lady Zhu's illness. Looking back now, old Lady Zhu was clearly faking her illness, which makes that car accident highly suspicious. The incident started with old Lady Zhu's illness, and the biggest beneficiary after the car accident was Luca Zhu, who swindled all of my family's assets. Only a fool would believe the car accident had nothing to do with Luca Zhu. It didn't take long for him to show his true colors. After being confronted by creditors again, he used the access I had granted him during our relationship to sneak into my garage. You think you can mess with me? I'll make sure you lose everything. The entire process of his tampering, including everything he said, was captured on camera by the people following him. I saw the video and remembered that after my parents' car accident, Luca Jew wouldn't let me touch anything and directly had their car scrapped, claiming it was for my own good. Zoe, I was afraid you'd be overwhelmed by grief if you saw the scene. Don't worry about your parents' funeral arrangements. I'll handle everything for you properly. Furious, I immediately reported it to the police, submitted the evidence, and hired a lawyer to sue Luca Jew for intentional homicide. Perhaps still trying to win me back, Luca Jew only tampered with my parents' car. The car was taken by the police for investigation and evidence collection, and only then did they realize they had narrowly escaped death. My mother held my shoulders, trembling with lingering fear. Zoe, I will never rush you to get married again. I would rather you stay single for life than have you targeted by such a demon. My father, however, thought more deeply. One should not be overly suspicious due to past fears. Don't talk like a child, you should still get married. There are good boys out there. When the time comes, your parents will help you vet them and choose carefully. The evidence was conclusive. Luca Jew was convicted of attempted murder, and the sentencing came down quickly, 3 years in prison. His parents had already retired the year he graduated from college. Once he was imprisoned, they completely lost their source of income. The old couple's children were both in prison, their grandson was not close to them, and their son-in-law offered no help. They are harassed by loan sharks every day and have no way to deal with it. In less than 3 months, they couldn't pay the mortgage, and the house was auctioned by the court before it was even handed over. After the court auction process ended, the court gave the remaining 200,000 yuan to the elderly couple of the Jew family. The loan shark company caught wind of it and that very night smashed their door and stole the money. This scene was captured by the neighbors of the Jew couple and posted in the residential community group chat. You can't take this money, it's our family's money. What nonsense are you talking? Your son hasn't even paid back the principal he owes us. This is our money. Due to the intense struggle, Old Man Jew accidentally suffered a stroke and became paralyzed, with only his eyes able to move. I left the group that Luca Jew had tricked me into joining to take care of his parents after I finished reading the follow-up. Once a villain no longer has a sucker to exploit, fate will take its course. 10. The end. I gradually forgot about the existence of Luca Jew and his family. With the support of my own family, my career flourished. 3 years later, Luca Jew was released, but with a criminal record, he couldn't land any decent, easy job. He came looking for me again. Zoe, I know you still haven't gotten married. Give me another chance. Okay, I'll treat you well. I only asked him one question. Have you visited your parents yet? As soon as he came out, he went to find them. But the condition of the 2 elderly people was terrible, and he was unwilling to take on the burden, so he simply didn't show himself in front of them. Didn't you dislike my parents? From now on, we won't see them. I'll treat your parents as my own. Isn't that good? I was speechless. His reminder instantly brought back the memory of why he had gone in. Have you lost your mind from being in prison? You almost got my parents killed. How dare you say you'll be filial to them? I was so harassed that I had no choice but to call the police and report him for harassment. Luca Jew was detained for a few days. Since his household registration wasn't in this city and his residence permit had long expired, he was sent back to his place of origin. I didn't see Luca Jew again until 4 years later. The first thing Ju Yang did after being released from prison was to seek revenge on me. I don't know where she got so much hatred, but she stabbed me more than a dozen times with a fruit knife at my doorstep. It's all your fault that I got divorced and was abandoned by my parents. If it weren't for you getting me arrested, how could my son have been abused by his stepmother? She said a lot, but I was in too much pain. I only managed to process a small part of it before losing consciousness. I was lucky. The stab didn't hit any vital organs. A neighbor found me, called the police in time, and an ambulance was sent. My life was saved. Ju Yang's intentional homicide this time was of a heinous nature, and coupled with the fact that she had just been released from prison, her crime was considered even more severe, resulting in a life sentence. Luca Jew came to the hospital, knelt down, and begged me to spare his sister. speaking with genuine emotion, "My sister is now my only family left. Please, can you let her go? She didn't do it on purpose, it's just that her son was abused by his stepmother and lost his life, which is why she acted this way. If you have any lasting effects, I will marry you and take care of you for the rest of your life. Please, let her go." Okay, Luka Jew said a lot. But the only things I took in were the only family and her son was abused to death. Haha, although it's somewhat unethical, everyone who wronged me in my past life, except for the Jew siblings, is dead. Great. My answer is, of course, you were the one who told your sister about your nephew's death, weren't you? Luka Jew fled in panic, with a direction of suspicion. Checking Ju Yang's prison visitation records was straightforward. Luka Jew was formally arrested by the police a few days later on charges of inciting murder. My parents, angered by the Jew family's bullying of me, hired someone to investigate Luka Jew in our hometown. They discovered something suspicious about the deaths of Luka Jew's parents, submitted the evidence to the police, and the two local police departments collaborated to investigate, conducting a surprise interrogation of Luka Jew before the couple was found dead. Luka Jew had purchased high-value insurance policies for them. Luka Jew had been surviving on the insurance money over the past few years. When the money ran out, he then set his sights on his sister in prison and me, who was still unmarried. This constitutes both murder and insurance fraud, a heinous crime. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and will spend the rest of his life atoning for his sins. After the Jew family incident, my mother made a clear request of me for the first time. "Zoe, your father and I are getting old, and we worry about you being on your own in the future." I accepted my parents' request to arrange a matchmaking, and every candidate was carefully selected by them. They introduced it as just meeting friends, with no strong underlying intentions. I made a lot of friends, but instead of finding them good husbands, I became much more outgoing. Years later, I found a like-minded, same-age, childless female friend to live with. My parents saw that we took good care of each other and had no property disputes, so they stopped urging me to make friends. In our later years, we made a will to donate our property to the state after our death. And the community took good care of us. Compared to my previous life, my son takes even more thoughtful and considerate care of me. Moreover, no one will ever criticize me for spending money on medical treatment again. I didn't have to deal with injuries from taking care of children or doing household chores. And the occupational ailments from my earlier years gradually improved through physical therapy after retirement. In my later years, I lived comfortably both physically and mentally, without suffering much. End. That concludes the first story. Stay tuned. The next one is even more exciting. While I was worrying about this month's food expenses, I saw Jiyu Cheng giving the malted milk powder I bought for my daughter to his white moonlight. My husband, who usually looks down on me with contempt, was gazing at another woman with tender, affectionate eyes. Thinking of my daughter at home, her little face sallow from hunger, I lunged forward frantically to confront him. But he pointed at my nose and yelled, "Don't act like a shrew and embarrass yourself in public, it's just a can of malted milk powder, isn't it, Manning? What's wrong with having some tonic to build up your health when you're so thin?" Turning to the beloved one with a face full of apology, "She's just a country girl. Don't take it to heart. Let me walk you back." Later, this country girl went to the big city to make a living and became the first 10,000 yuan household in the county. While both he and his beloved came running to seek refuge with me, watching Jiyu Cheng escort Luo Manning away on his bicycle, I tried hard to ignore the sympathetic glances around me, forcing myself to stand up and walk away. Going home, as soon as I opened the door, I saw my daughter eagerly waiting inside. "Mom, where's my malted milk powder?" Seeing me return empty-handed, she opened her mouth and burst into tears with a loud wah. Looking at my daughter's disappointed face, I hurried over. Feeling my heart ache, I crouched down and held her, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face. How could I let my little girl know that her father, whom she always admired, had given her malted milk powder to another woman? Jiyu Cheng's monthly income as a teacher wasn't much, and for the past 2 months, he hadn't even given me any household expenses. He was never home all day except to sleep at night, and my daughter would always tug at my hand and ask, "Where is Daddy? Hasn't Daddy come back yet? Are you coming, Mom? I really miss Dad." Today is my daughter's birthday. I asked someone to buy a can of malted milk powder for me early in the morning. The cafeteria was busy today, so I asked Ji Cheng to bring it back for me. Who would have thought I would see that scene after work? He should never, ever have touched the child's things. My daughter seemed to sense something was wrong and wriggled out of my arms. Mom, don't cry. Her small hands flusteredly wiped away my tears. I forced back a sob and managed a smile as I looked at her. Tian's birthday is today. Mom will make you a bowl of longevity noodles. Okay, after eating them, they'll bless our Tian with good health. The little one agreed and obediently climbed back onto the bed to sit. I wiped my face and went next door to borrow 2 eggs from Aunt Wang to make noodles for my daughter. After coming back and putting my daughter to sleep, I sat at the table eating the long cold noodles. The clock on the wall pointed to 10 o'clock when Ji Cheng returned. Seeing me chewing in a dazed and numb manner, a low, icy sneer sounded in my ear. The one good thing about you is that no matter how big a mess happens outside, you never go hungry. The scent of a woman's cold cream drifted into my nose, suppressing the ache in my heart. I couldn't help but retort, if I'm not sitting here to eat, should I be seeking out a man like you, tired of living? Ji Cheng was taken aback, as if he hadn't expected me, usually so compliant, to talk back. He crossed his hands behind his back and scolded me sternly, as if lecturing a student. Eat, eat. All you ever think about is eating. Look at you. Where do you even resemble a woman? You never bother to tidy yourself up, you eat like a pig, and all you do all day is gossip with the neighbor, Aunt Wang about other people's business. Rude, ignorant, you have no real purpose in life. Manning just returned to Anqing recently. We grew up together since childhood, so isn't it only natural to look out for her a bit more? You're all huffy and puffy just because I gave her a can of malted milk, as the family member of a people's teacher. Is this how you, enlightenment? I couldn't help but laugh inwardly at his words. Ji Cheng, marrying me must have been such a hardship for him. At the slightest disagreement, it's always, you lack enlightenment. A rural woman like me, who only knows how to put effort into making a few decent dishes, really doesn't deserve such a lofty man like him. Turning to look at my daughter's frowning face in her sleep, I suddenly felt as if I had lost all strength. I stopped speaking and began clearing the dishes from the table by myself. Seeing that I remained silent, he finally softened his expression. In the future, watch your words and don't be so reckless. Like a jealous woman, if it weren't for your parents back then, I wouldn't have. My heart was chillingly cold as I looked up at him, my hands trembling with anger. What do you mean you won't? You won't marry me, is that it? Back then, when Ji Cheng's father suddenly fell ill, he was taking an exam in the county town, and Ji Cheng's mother came to my house in tears, begging for help. It was my father and I who carried Ji Cheng's father to the hospital. On such a bitterly cold day, through snow that reached our knees, a full 20 li of the journey, my father and I walked step by step to the hospital like this. Although the elderly person passed away half a year later, my father also developed a condition where his legs below the knees hurt severely whenever it rained, and now, he still has to go for acupuncture from time to time. I was harmed by the cold, which left me with dysmenorrhea, even after giving birth to Tian. It didn't get better. In fact, it got worse. Once, the pain was so bad I almost fainted from dizziness. Whenever it gets cold, I get chilblains on my feet, and they keep coming back. What has all of this been for over the past 5 years? It wasn't my parents forcing Ji Cheng to marry me. We never intended to use a favor to demand repayment. I know very well that Ji Cheng has someone else in his heart. He likes Luo Manning, and everyone knows it. One day while I was feeding the pigs in the pen, Ji Cheng came up behind me, took the ladle from my hand, and said earnestly, "Nyo Gui, marry me." At that moment, as I looked at the tall, handsome man before me, I felt like a mouse struck by a giant piece of candy. I willingly fell into this sweet trap, only to later learn that Luo Manning had left Anqing after getting married. I suppose I was just his choice in a moment of disappointment. Tears blurred my vision, and I saw him turn away in disgust. A box tied with a red ribbon hidden beneath his collar. I instantly lost my composure and rushed over, snatching the box from him. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a silk scarf inside. I couldn't understand the pattern on it, nor had I ever seen it on any woman on the street. In my memory, only the dancing women from the cultural troupe wore such things. while Luo Manning, who always dressed fashionably, loved wearing silk scarves the most. Clearly, this wasn't meant for me. Ji Cheng turned pale with shock and tried to snatch it back. I held it behind me and sneered, "This is for Luo Manning, isn't it?" He guiltily grabbed my hand. It was the first time I had ever seen such an expression on his face. I held on tightly, watching the things my husband had bought for another woman. But a woman's strength is ultimately no match for a man's. He pried my fingers open one by one, snatched it away, and looked at the crushed gift box, his face immediately flushed with distress. "Chen Yogue, have you lost your mind? So what if I gave it to Manning? With a figure like yours, would it even look good on you? Take a look in the mirror and see what you really look like. Manning just escaped from that unhealthy marriage. As her friend, is it wrong for me to give her a scarf to comfort her? Mutual benefit, mutual assistance, unity, and friendship. Even if you lack education, you should at least know these principles." Somehow I suddenly remembered the last time I went to the supply and marketing cooperative, wanting to buy something to moisturize my face, in winter. The cold and dry weather makes my skin hurt badly when the wind blows, alas, but with money being tight and thinking about the family's situation, I ultimately couldn't bring myself to buy it and came back empty-handed. I remembered passing by a store and spotting a sapphire blue coat that caught my eye. The salesperson handed it to me to try on and kept complimenting how good it looked. I looked in the mirror and couldn't help but admire myself. I tugged at Ji Cheng, who was standing beside me. But he kept his jaw tight and stared outside, never once glancing at me. The saleswoman's smile froze on her face. In the end, I blushed, thanked her, and took off the clothes to return them. It wasn't until we were walking home that Ji Cheng finally spoke. "What's the point of spending money on clothes like that? Royal blue doesn't suit you, and that style, it only looks good on someone with a slender figure." I suppose he was referring to Romaine. The one with the slender figure. In his heart, I've always been inferior to that woman, even though I've borne him children, even though I've managed the household for him. In the end, I still can't compare to the one in his heart, not even a fraction. I held back my tears and wiped my face in a flustered manner. "Today is our daughter's birthday. The malted milk powder is something Tian Tian has been wanting to eat. I spent my own. The salary was used to buy it for her. But you, as a father, gave away the things you bought for your child to someone else." He reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "There are so many things going on at school. How would I know if you don't tell me? If the child wants to eat, just give it to them. Just buy it then." I spread my hands and said, "I'm out of money. Why don't you give me some?" Seeing him turn his head away, I continued, "We can barely afford food at home, yet you have spare money to buy a silk scarf for some woman outside. This thing isn't cheap, is it? I know you've always looked down on me. Now that your white moonlight is divorced, you have another chance. I don't want to hold you back either. Let's just end it and get a divorce." He turned his head irritably and slammed the door. "Chen Yogue, who else would want you besides me? Stop being crazy. This time, I won't bother with you. You're so petty." I went to a neighbor's house with a landline overnight, dialed the familiar number, and made the call. "Bro, didn't you say the restaurant still needs a cook? I'll go, 10 days. Alright, that's enough. Enough for me to end all of this." The next morning, I went to the cafeteria to work with swollen eyes. At lunchtime, the girls from the cultural troupe came to eat together. I spotted the tall woman at first glance. She reached out, her slender fingers tucking the hair behind her ear, revealing her fair and smooth face. She held her head high, and around her long neck was the very scarf I had fought Ji Cheng over last night. Such a complex pattern looked so beautiful on her. I thought to myself, this kind of elegance is something I could never learn in my entire life. She gave me a distant glance, her hand unconsciously touching the silk scarf. A woman not far away trotted over to her with a food tray, her eyes full of admiration. "Oh, Sister Manning, where did you buy that silk scarf? It's really beautiful. I'll have my husband get me one too tomorrow." Luo Manning smiled casually and said, "It was a gift. You can't buy this in Anqing. It's a style only available in Shanghai. My friend spent 30 yuan to get it." Clang! The spatula I was using to serve food fell into the metal container, the sharp noise drawing many eyes in my direction. I laughed at myself mockingly. 30 yuan. Ji Cheng's monthly salary was only 30 yuan. 30 yuan was enough to cover our family's expenses for a month. sold out. He is reluctant to buy his wife a piece of clothing or a face cream, and can't even afford to buy his daughter another box of malted milk powder. Yet he can spend a month's salary to buy a silk scarf for another woman to wear around her neck. How generous. So he spent all his salary these months on this woman. 30 yuan. The woman smacked her lips, exclaiming in shock. Her loud exclamation drew curious glances from the people around Luo Manning. Luo Manning wore a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, seemingly enjoying the attention. Oh my goodness. This scarf alone costs 30 yuan. This is way too expensive. I can't afford it. You're so lucky. Which admirer gave this to you? Can they even make the cut in your list? I'm not trying to be rude, but even after a divorce, you still look like a young girl. Upon hearing this, the smile on Luo Manning's face instantly vanished. She shot the woman a glare and then walked away. The woman curled her lip and said to the person beside her, "Look at how capable she thinks she is, able to charm those men into spending so much money to buy a lousy silk scarf. It's like a hanged ghost putting on makeup, trying to look pretty even in death." After finishing my meal, I sat on a small stool in the back kitchen washing dishes when Aunt Wang hurried in and closed the door behind her. Seeing her troubled expression and hesitation, I couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong, Aunt Wang? If you have something to say, just say it." Nyogue, I don't know if my eyes were playing tricks on me, but when I went to buy groceries, I saw Jiyu Cheng giving a woman canned fruit, and even, I continued with my actions. What else happened? You even fed that woman. I looked at Aunt Wang, her face flushed with embarrassment as she rubbed her hands, and somehow I sighed. Nyogue, I really shouldn't say this, but I'm afraid it might hurt the harmony between you two. Harmony? What harmony is there left between him and me? But we have such a good relationship, and I don't want you to be kept in the dark, knowing nothing. I also feel sorry for that child. Tian, look at how frugally you and your daughter are living. It pains me to see it. He, a man, spends so lavishly outside. Canned fruit is such a rare and precious thing. I wiped the water from my hands onto my apron, the cracks on my hands aching faintly. Auntie, thank you. I understand. Actually, in a marriage, there are always some bumps and disagreements, but life must go on. Especially since the two of you have a daughter. We women have no choice. You should go back tonight, make a couple of dishes, and have a good talk with Gucheng. He's still young. Probably just dazzled by some loose woman out there. Men, they're all like that. I shook my head. Aunt Wang, I know you mean well, but you don't need to persuade me. I know what I'm doing. After work, I quickened my pace and headed home. As soon as I entered the door, I saw Jiyu Cheng, who had never set foot in the kitchen, chasing a chicken all over the yard. Feathers were all over his head, and his handsome face looked quite disheveled. He was overjoyed to see me return. Nyo Gui, you're finally back. Look, I got a chicken, but I didn't expect it to be so hard to catch. I've boiled some water. You go ahead and stew the chicken. I'm going to take a bath first. My daughter clapped her little hands happily, saying, Mommy, we get to eat meat today. I forced a smile, never expecting Jiyu Cheng to bring back a chicken. It had been a long time since we'd seen any meat in the house. While chopping the chicken into pieces, for some reason, I suddenly remembered what Aunt Wang said this afternoon. Life goes on no matter what, and it doesn't matter who you spend it with. I could just walk away. But the child, thinking of my daughter, my heart ached with a sharp pain, and for a moment, I couldn't make up my mind. The rich aroma of chicken soup filled the room as I carried my daughter to the inner room to change her clothes, thinking about preparing a bowl of chicken soup mixed with rice for the child later. I unconsciously quickened my movements. Back in the kitchen, I picked up a bowl to serve the soup, but when I lifted the lid, my heart sank. Inside, there were only 2 chicken wings left and a pitifully small amount of soup, barely enough to cover the bottom of the pot. How could a whole chicken suddenly disappear? I panicked, thinking a thief had stolen it, but the courtyard gate was still securely closed. How could that be? I glanced outside and realized the tightly shut door had somehow been opened. Upon a second look, I noticed one of the household ceramic bowls was missing. What else is there for me not to understand? I picked up my coat and walked out. I rushed straight to Luo Manning's place, and even before entering the house, I could smell the chicken soup inside. Cheng, thank you. I never thought it would be you by my side now. Manning, what kind of silly talk is that? We grew up together. It's only right that I look out for you more, her voice choked with emotion. But you still ended up getting married, you shouldn't stay here. It's not right, if others find out, you should leave quickly. You're so weak right now. How can I not stay with you? Just let me stay a little longer. I really don't want to go back to that home. I watched the two people sitting at the table through the window. In front of them was a large bowl of chicken soup, 2 side dishes, and an open can of fruit. Those 2 side dishes clearly came from a state-run restaurant. They looked quite appealing. I had only tried them once before, at someone's wedding. A meal like this, not even during the new year have my child and I ever had the chance to eat. It felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over me from head to toe, making the expectations I had built up and the inner conflict I just experienced seem laughable. I thought he had changed his ways, buying a chicken to appease me and our daughter, but as soon as I finished stewing it, he turned around and took it to Luo Manning. He didn't even leave a chicken leg for our child. What am I still clinging to with a man like this? He claims he has no money to buy me malted milk, yet he can afford to order 2 dishes at a state-run restaurant. Will he really end up freeloading from 2 households in the future? Luo Manning's thin back bent over as she covered her face and gradually began to cry, her body trembling slightly. Cheng, I really regret it so much. Have we really missed our chance with each other? If only I had married you back then. You are so good to me. I must have been blind back then. She leaned her head on Jiyu Cheng's shoulder, her whole body seeming as soft and boneless as if it were made of water. Jiyu Cheng, at a loss, wiped her tears. Manning, actually, I tapped on the glass window and shouted hoarsely, Jiyu Cheng, their bodies, which had been pressed together, instantly sprang apart. Luo Manning, especially frightened, covered her chest and screamed. Jiyu Cheng saw it was me and said with a dark expression, "What are you doing here? Why were you sneaking a look from outside without making a sound? Such a country bumpkin habit, impossible to change." Luo Manning snapped out of it and smiled at me, as if we were the best of sisters. She opened the door and walked up to me. "Nyo, it's Sister Nyo, right? Come in and sit, it's so cold outside." There wasn't a trace of awkwardness on her face as she reached out to take my hand, but she lowered her head and saw my swollen, red, her fingers, small like radishes, immediately put her hand down. The surprise and disdain in her eyes were impossible to hide. I followed her into the room, and the warmth inside instantly made me shiver, my fingers immediately starting to itch and ache. Luo Manning placed a chair opposite the table, and the two of them sat down as if no one else was around. It's as if I were the outsider. "Let's eat together. Cheng is really something." Luo Manning nudged Jiyu Cheng with her shoulder, her face full of a little girl's shyness. "How could you not bring Sister Nyo along? Sister Nyo, try this. Cheng specially went to the state-run restaurant to buy these dishes. The taste is pretty good, but the chicken soup is too salty. I'm not used to drinking it." Jiyu Cheng was sitting quietly, but couldn't help laughing at her words. He took a spoon and served her some soup. "Even if you don't like it, have a little. Look how thin you are. Your face is so pale. Drink some chicken soup to nourish yourself," I said sarcastically. Although I'm from the countryside and haven't seen as much of the world as you two, after living for so many years, this is the first time I've seen someone so shameless and thick-skinned. You two were practically glued together right in front of me. It seems I came at the wrong time. I should have prepared a few more things to congratulate you both on finally getting what you wanted. Jiyu Cheng angrily slammed his chopsticks down, splashing chicken soup all over my face. "Chen Yogue, what nonsense are you spouting? Man Ning and I are completely innocent. Fair and white. Sister Nyo, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say whatever you want if you keep spouting nonsense like this. I won't have the face to live in this world anymore." Luo Manning sat to the side, her eyes slightly red as if she were about to cry at any moment, completely devoid of the cold, aloof, and proud demeanor she had shown during the day, the icy, unapproachable, and haughty appearance. Jiyu Cheng's heart ached as he pulled Luo Manning into his arms, gently patting her back to comfort her. "Get yourself home right now, and we'll talk about it when you get there." Did I say something wrong? One is a courtesan, the other a teacher. Both preach benevolence and morality, yet engage in such filthy deeds behind the scenes. Shut your mouth." Jiyu Cheng's chest heaved with extreme anger. I picked up the spoon and started drinking the soup. It was quite good, not greasy at all. Though some people might not appreciate such a delicacy, I then picked up the chopsticks and took a couple of bites of the dishes. They tasted great. I grabbed a plastic bag nearby, poured the 2 dishes from the table into it, fished out 2 chicken legs from the soup and added them, then got ready to away. Ji Cheng blocked my way, grabbed my collar, and slammed me against the wall. Are you a starving ghost reincarnated? Manning just got divorced, the marriage is gone, and with no children. Her body is very weak. I bought a chicken to help her regain her strength. You're that greedy. How could I have been so blind to marry such a vulgar person? Standing there with a width that rivals others, 2 people, lacking the tolerance to accommodate others, are trying to take the patient's food. My hand is in unbearable pain from the heavy impact, and the small cut from before seems to have reopened, bleeding profusely. Luo Manning stepped forward to persuade him. Cheng, I'm fine. Just let Sister Nyo take it back to eat. Missing 1 meal won't do me any harm. Hearing this, Ji Cheng's face twisted with anger. Even if she starved for a month, she'd have fat to sustain her. But you, a gust of wind could fall. Forget it. If she wants to eat, let her. Those dishes are all dirty. And seeing her has ruined my appetite. Ji Cheng picked up the coat nearby and draped it over Luo Manning. Come on, I'll take you out to eat. Luo Manning looked up in pleasant surprise, her eyes sparkling, and followed closely beside Ji Cheng as they headed out. I came home and set out the dishes. When my daughter saw that I had brought back a bunch of delicious food, her face was full of smiles. After I wiped her hands and was about to serve her some food, she didn't pick up her chopsticks. Why aren't you eating? Dad hasn't come back yet. I'll wait to eat with Dad. My nose tingled, and I held back my tears. Sweetie, be good. Daddy can't come home to eat today. Let's eat by ourselves. Shouldn't we save some for Daddy? Watching my daughter, who clearly wanted to eat but was swallowing her saliva and waiting for her father, my heart felt as if it were being squeezed. No need, he's already eaten outside. Sweetie, hurry and eat this big chicken leg. It won't taste as good once it gets cold. In the evening, I was folding clothes one by one and stuffing them into a bag. My daughter sat on the bed watching me, and I carefully began. Tian Tian. If Mommy and Daddy are going to separate, Tian Tian wants. I want Mommy, my daughter said seriously, looking at me. Tian Tian wants to stay with Mommy. Don't you want Daddy? Daddy is bad, always making Mommy cry. I don't like Daddy anymore. The daughter lowered her head in grievance. Just as I was about to speak, the door suddenly opened. Gucheng was humming a tune, looking quite cheerful. Seeing me packing clothes, he remarked sarcastically, "What? Starting to pack up and go back to your parents' home?" Then again, after doing something like this, anyone with a sense of shame would want to find a place to hide for a few days. Looking at his shameless demeanor, I felt a wave of disgust. How did I ever fall for a man like this in the first place? Apart from that face of his, he's practically useless in every other way. Without saying a word, I took a few sheets of paper from the nearby desk and handed them to him to sign. He sat in the chair, took the papers, and began reading them carefully. What is this? Things at the school, along with some benefits, require a signature. The ones above are all normal, only the one at the very bottom is the divorce agreement. Ji Cheng flipped through them casually, looking at me with a half smile. You should learn to read, an illiterate woman like you, who can't even sign, without me. How do you expect to divorce me? Can you survive without me? He has always looked down on me. In his eyes, I can't even recognize a single word, but if he had looked carefully, he would have seen my signature on the bottom of that paper. Ji Cheng quickly finished signing and went to take a shower. Early the next morning, I went to the cafeteria to say goodbye to everyone, and on the way back, I stopped by the Supply and Marketing Cooperative to buy some snacks. Passing by Luo Manning's house, I heard a man's shouting and a woman's crying from inside. Curious, I walked closer and looked through the window to see Luo Manning with disheveled hair, lying on the ground, her pale face streaked with tears. A man who looked almost 40 was kicking her viciously. Divorce me, and you ran away to this dump. Did you really think I can't find you? You really are quite the social butterfly, aren't you? Wherever you go, there's always some pretty boy taking care of you. How despicable, Luo Manning. Don't even say you lost the child because of me. I don't even know if the baby in your belly is mine. Only then did I notice Ji Cheng was there too, standing in the corner, almost invisible if you didn't look closely. He who had always regarded Roman Ning as more precious than his own eyes was now hiding in the corner, not stepping forward to protect the one he had always longed for. Woman, watching this scene, I felt an indescribable emotion in my heart. Jiyu Cheng, Cheng, take me away quickly. He's a madman, he's insane, he'll kill me. Luo Manin struggled desperately, crawling in the direction of Jiyu Cheng. Yet Jiyu Cheng remained unmoved, even attempting to leave, but the door was blocked by the man, as if intentionally barring his way out. Who are you calling crazy, you worthless piece of trash? Are you that desperate for a man? Do you think this pretty boy dares to step forward? You really think he can protect you? He's just a coward. The man dragged her back by her ankle. With sharp eyes, I immediately noticed a pool of blood beneath Romaning. I'm afraid it's because she hasn't recovered well after the miscarriage and is now being kicked hard. If this continues, it will eventually lead to a loss of life. I hesitated a bit. Romaning is the cause of everything that has happened to me now. But without her, could Jiyu Cheng really settle down and live a good life with me? No, a selfish person like him has only ever loved himself. I made up my mind and kicked the door open. The old, dilapidated wooden door instantly collapsed, landing on the man's back. He looked at me in pain. Who are you? I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Jiyu Cheng also looked at me in disbelief, while Luo Manning watched with a complicated expression as I walked up to her. I shouted at Jiyu Cheng, hurry and take her to the hospital. Do you want to watch her die in front of you? Jiyu Cheng seemed to snap out of his daze, grabbed Luo Manning, and rushed outside. You fool. I've never seen anyone as stupid as you. You're even more despicable than Luo Manning. Actually trying to save your husband's mistress. It's truly an eye-opener for me. I stepped on his fingers and walked out. I've already called the police. Jiyu Cheng didn't come back all night. He must have had a lot to deal with at the moment. Early in the morning, I took all the valuables I could carry from home, held my child, and left. Who would have thought that as soon as I arrived at the station, I saw a tall figure waving at me. I walked up and, recognizing the person, widened my eyes and said, Ju Yang, why are you here? Didn't we agree that I would go to Beijing to find you? The man in front of me scratched his head shyly, grinning as he said, Sis, I was just worried it might be inconvenient for you to bring Tian Tian along. Anyway, someone's watching the restaurant, so I figured I'd come pick you up on the way. I smiled helplessly, feeling a surge of warmth and gratitude. If he weren't here, it really would be tough for me to manage the child and all these things, on my own. Watching him carry my bundle towards the entrance, I followed him into the station. He took care of all the meals and drinks along the way. And the dry provisions I brought were never used. It took a full 2 days and 2 nights to arrive. Stepping out of the station, I saw the buildings, the streets, and the fashionable clothes of the people outside. It felt like I had entered another world. I looked down at my own clothes and realized I truly looked like a country bumpkin. Tian Tian looked around excitedly. It's so beautiful here. Mom, I love it here so much. Hearing this, I also smiled, making up my mind. If my child loves it here, then I must put down roots in this place. A small car suddenly stopped in front of me, a sight I had rarely seen in Anqing, and there it was, gleaming and pristine, right before my eyes. To my surprise, Ju Yang opened the car door and waved at me, saying, Sis, get in quick. My eyes widened as I exclaimed, This is your car. Wow, little brother, you've really made it big, driving such a nice car now. Ju Yang gave a modest smile, helping me carry Tian Tian into the back seat, and said, I owe it all to you. If it weren't for you saving me back then, how could I have? Is that so? I got into the car, my hands nervously fidgeting, not knowing where to put them. I looked left and right, and upon hearing his words, I suddenly relaxed and laughed. Listen to you, then you must be destined for wealth and honor. Back then, it was just a small gesture on my part. You don't have to keep it in mind all the time. Before I married Jiyu Cheng, one day while I was coming back from cutting pigweed, I unexpectedly saw someone lying by the roadside. I didn't know whether he was alive or dead, so I mustered the courage to step forward and check his breathing. He was still breathing, so I carried him back home. Later, I learned that he had been an orphan since childhood, had been struggling to make a living on his own, and ended up here after being cheated in a business deal. He had been starving for a long time and was injured, so he stayed at my place to recover. When he was feeling better, He would sometimes help me with work. He was the one who helped fix all the leaks on the roof at home, and those were the happiest days of my life before I got married. The day before I married Jiyu Cheng, Ju Yang came into my room. It was the first time he had ever stepped into my room. Seeing the puzzled look on my face, he stepped forward and handed me a box. When I opened it, I saw a pair of gold earrings inside. I quickly closed it and handed the box back to him, but he held my hand, his eyes filled with a sadness I couldn't understand. "Keep it, sis. This is my wedding gift to you. No matter where you are, remember you still have me as your brother. If he ever treats you poorly in the future, be sure to tell me, and I'll help you deal with him." I responded with a smile, only to find out later that he left that very night, saying he was going out to make his way in the world. Every year during the holidays, he would send gifts to me and my parents. Sometimes, Gucheng would even say with a hint of envy, "Your younger brother is really good to you." In recent years, he has often written to me about his life, even urging me countless times to join him. I always refuse because aside from having a talent for cooking delicious food, I don't have any other strengths. There are plenty of people who cook well. How could I possibly become a chef at a big restaurant? But that day, Ju Yang said to me over the phone, "Sis, you're really good, you just don't realize it yourself. The food you make is the most delicious food I've ever had." At this thought, I smiled with curved eyes as I looked at the person in front of me. His features had matured, and the once youthful face now carried a touch of firmness. "You've made a success of your career now. Haven't you found yourself a sister-in-law?" "I'm in no hurry." Ju Yang's voice was muffled as he looked out the window. I shook my head. "You rascal. I'll settle down right here. The restaurant has a good location with 3 floors, and there's a small warehouse on the first floor. Ju Yang tidied it up for me and Tian Tian to live in, with all the necessary clothing and supplies inside, and many beautiful things I hadn't even seen before. The coat that was worn. There are even things that leave me so grateful I'm at a loss for words." He put down my luggage and patted my shoulder. "Sis, just settle in here. You'll definitely have a better and better life." To my surprise, the local tastes here are quite similar to those in my hometown. Back when I cooked in the cafeteria, everyone praised my skills, but I never imagined I'd end up cooking in a big restaurant's kitchen. During that time, my mom called me countless times, asking if there was really no chance left. She said Jiyu Cheng was searching for me all over the world, completely heartbroken and lost. I even skipped classes. I just casually changed the subject and asked how she and my father were doing. At first, the kitchen staff looked down on me because I came from a small town. When discussing new dishes for tasting, they never included me. Ju Yang didn't say anything about it either, but he did take me to the kitchen and said he wanted to eat the dishes I made. As it turned out, a few of the dishes I prepared were brought out and placed alongside the head chef's creations. Unaware of the situation, the staff nearby commented that the dishes I made were delicious. That's how I secured my footing at this restaurant, from doing odd jobs to being an assistant, then a cook, and even a head chef. I achieved it all in just 2 years. Tian Tian and I moved out a long time ago, and now we have enough money to buy a small house. Tian Tian is now enrolled in a kindergarten in the city, arranged by Ju Yang, so I don't have to worry about picking her up or dropping her off. That day, I was sitting at my desk wondering if I should find some time to go back and visit, but I was also worried that the shop might be too busy. I mentioned it to Ju Yang, and he still hasn't gotten back to me. I was so lost in thought that I didn't even notice someone sitting down next to me. "Sis, I have an idea I'd like to discuss with you. You've been here for 2 years now and have made some money. I was wondering if you'd be interested in investing in our shop." My hand holding the cup paused. "I'm investing." Receiving a positive answer, I couldn't help but freeze in place. Ju Yang poured me some tea, raising an eyebrow. "If you want to invest, you'll need to put in 10,000 yuan first, and sign a 10-year contract with me." I felt as if a huge pie had fallen from the sky and landed right on my head. Completely oblivious to the sly glint in his eyes, and could only nod in agreement, and so I became the head chef and a shareholder of this happy restaurant. To this day, it still feels like a dream. 2 days later, I took Tian Tian home by train, and Ju Yang eagerly followed along. He mentioned that he hadn't been back in many years, so it was just as well. Right after getting off the train, I took Tian Tian and Ju Yang to the state-run restaurant to pack some dishes. Not yet home, Tian insisted on going to the convenience store to buy some snacks. Helpless, I had to lead her toward the store. Daddy, my hand, in the middle of paying, paused as I turned to look. Standing not far away was none other than Ji Cheng. He had lost his former high spirits, his once meticulously styled hair was now messy and unkempt, and he hadn't shaved the stubble that had grown out. The whole person looks as if they have aged more than 10 years. Ji Cheng looked at Tian in surprise, then turned toward my direction with disbelief. Wife, is it really you? His eyes lit up as he ran toward me, trying to grab my hand, but I dodged it. I smiled faintly and said, just call me by my name. There's no longer any connection between us. No, I never agreed to the divorce, but your name is on it. I had to remind him. You tricked me into signing it back then. I had no idea at the time, otherwise I would never have agreed to divorce you. Can you come back? I really can't live without you. Ji Cheng begged me pitifully. I looked at him in silence, wondering if he truly couldn't live without me, or if he just couldn't live without a maid to serve him. Ju Yang stood beside me with an impatient expression, and I gently tried to soothe him. Ji Cheng's gaze fell on Ju Yang, and his expression instantly darkened. Pointing at him, he angrily demanded, "Who is he? Is it because of him that you insisted on leaving back then? I'm getting a divorce, you talk about me and Romaning, but it turns out you already had someone else lined up." He was speaking loudly, and some uncles and aunts who recognized me nearby began whispering. I turned around irritably. Not wanting to continue arguing with this scoundrel, he kept following me all the way back home with us. My dad, seeing Ji Cheng following behind me, thought I had changed my mind. "That's good too, a woman like you out there." "Dad," I interrupted coldly, "I have nothing to do with Ji Cheng." My mom looked very awkward. Later, I found out that during the 2 years I was away, Ji Cheng had completely changed and had been searching for me all over the world. He, who had never shown any concern for my parents, started helping my family with a lot of chores after that. When someone tried to set him up with someone else, he politely declined, saying he would wait for me to come back. Gucheng does realize his mistake now, and he didn't end up with that woman. Did he not end up with that woman, or did she dump him after realizing he's a selfish, cold-hearted, and ungrateful person? I said impatiently, if they had been together back then, this wouldn't have happened today. Ji Cheng has always been a self-serving and meticulous person. My mother was about to say more to persuade me, but I picked up the luggage I had set down. "Mom, if you say any more, I'm leaving." All right, dear, you should say less too. I think Nyo Gui is doing quite well the way she is now." Ju Yang sat beside me with a dark expression, and I had no idea what was wrong. He wouldn't even eat. My mother served him a bowl of soup. "Yang, at your age, it's time to settle down. What kind of person do you like? Tell your godmother, and I'll help you find someone." Ju Yang took the soup, his expression softening. "Godmother? There's already someone in my heart, but she hasn't accepted me yet." My mother immediately beamed with joy. "That's a good thing. Take it slow. Even an iron rod can be ground down to a needle." Suddenly, it started raining outside. Ji Cheng stood outside the gate, looking in through the fence. I calmly ate under his gaze. He deserved it. After the meal, Ji Cheng still stood there like a stone statue. After all, he is Tian's father. I sighed and followed him to a restaurant outside. Ju Yang originally wanted to come along, but I stopped him. "Nyogue, you've changed a lot over the past 2 years, Ji Cheng said seriously, looking at me with admiration, joy, and regret in his eyes. I happened to be wearing the sapphire blue coat I hadn't bought back then, but now I've lost weight, revealing my originally delicate features. My skin has also become fairer. Everyone in the village who saw me today said I've become so beautiful they couldn't recognize me, even while eating inside." I could hear the neighbor scolding, "You picked up a sesame seed but lost a watermelon. Now that person has become a 10,000 yuan household and is a boss in the big city, and you still have the nerve to come here shamelessly. I've never seen someone so shameless. You've changed a lot too." I took a sip of tea and said earnestly. Ji Cheng's eyes were slightly red. "We still have a daughter. No matter what, our daughter can't be without her father, since I came back. Busybodies have been telling me how miserable Ji Cheng was after I left. First he lost his job, then he started drinking heavily every day. When he got drunk, he would frantically search for me on the streets, even mistaking other people for me several times. Because of this, He was taken to the police station more than once. How many times have I gone for tea? Tian Tian is doing very well now. If you truly care, tidy yourself up properly, and I'd be happy to let you see the child. He grabbed my hand, his deep eyes welling up with tears. Nothing really happened between me and Luo Manning. I was in the wrong before. I know I hurt your feelings, but I will change. I really will change. Give me one more chance. I promise to be a good husband and a good father. I shook my head. It ended between us 2 years ago. Why? Didn't you like me the most before? I lowered my gaze to the cup of tea in front of me. Even affection has an expiration date. After too many disappointments, it just fades away. Upon hearing this, his face turned pale, as if he had lost his soul. No, it can't be. On our wedding day, we made a promise to each other in front of Chairman Mao's portrait, vowing to be together for a lifetime. How could it have changed now? You are the one who caused all of this. I stood up to leave, but he kept holding on to me, refusing to let go. Ju Yang appeared out of nowhere and threw a punch at Ji Yu Cheng. The two instantly started brawling, and I quickly rushed forward to pull them apart. If you don't have a mirror, at least you have piss, right? Take a good look at yourself, Ju Yang said through gritted teeth, his fists clenched. As I applied medicine to his wounds, I couldn't help but complain. How can someone your age still be so impulsive? He clung to my waist like a little kitten, murmuring, "Sis, I like you. I really like you. I don't want to just be your little brother anymore." Hearing his words, my heart raced, and a tingling sensation washed over me. Blushing, I quickly pushed him away and ran out of the room. The next morning, I took Tian Tian out shopping, only to see a car suddenly rush out and hit someone. Frightened, I quickly covered Tian Tian's eyes to keep her from seeing. Just as I was thinking about whether to help take the person to the hospital, I saw them stagger to their feet, a slight smile curling at the corner of their mouth as they looked at me, holding their hand. "Hand me the cake in perfect condition, Nyo Gui. Didn't you always want to eat this shop's cake for your birthday before? I'm sorry, I never really considered your feelings before. It's my fault. Now that I've bought you a cake, are you still willing to eat it?" Ji Yu Cheng looked at me cautiously, completely disregarding the injuries on his body. I wiped the tears from the corner of my eye and looked at Ju Yang, who was standing nearby. "Thank you, but I already have a cake." Ji Yu Cheng followed my gaze. His eyes darkening, he smiled bitterly and limped away. Later, the restaurant business became increasingly prosperous, and Xingfu Restaurant opened several branches. I stopped being a chef and passed down the secret recipes, starting a life where I woke up every day just to count money. That day, while I was checking the accounts in the shop, an unexpected person suddenly arrived. Luo Manning awkwardly rubbed his hands and looked at me. "Sister Gui, I heard from people in Anqing that you've become a big boss. I was wondering if there might be, you can introduce some work to me. I just want to make a living." I poured her a cup of tea and listened to her story. Only then did I learn that after I left, she didn't end up with Ji Yu Cheng because she realized these men were completely unreliable. Although she was rushed to the hospital in time that day, the damage was severe. She had to undergo a hysterectomy, and her ex-husband who hurt her ended up in prison. This matter caused quite a stir in Anqing. She was dismissed from the cultural troupe and injured her ankle, never able to dance again. Now she just does odd jobs to make ends meet. Looking at the woman with graying hair before me, who had lost all the beauty and pride I remembered from our first meeting, I finally gave her an address, telling her to work as a shop assistant at a store run by an old friend. The job is easy. All she has to do is handle the accounts. "You, still so kind and soft-hearted." Ju Yang draped a coat over me and pulled me up to go pick up Tian Tian. I smiled gently, looking at the man who was now my husband, and said, "Because I have you." That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.